It's time once again for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's Emmy himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Maynard Eaton.
Hello again, my friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Talk to Me, our weekly conversation with political influencers, business leaders, cultural influencers. Today, we have a man who's one of both, cultural and business. Meet Reginald Hilliard out of Dallas, Texas. Thank you for joining us, Reginald.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Reginald, I say you're one of both because in this era of football, NFL is getting ready to get started. NBA playoffs are underway. You are a branding expert with sports and a consultant with sports. Tell us about that. How does a business guy get so involved in sports?
Well, I actually found this opportunity many years ago while I was working in corporate America. I saw that corporate American companies put a lot of branding product in front of their consumers and in front of their clients. And when I worked in the medical industry, I would sell to pathologists, lab directors, and people of the medical industry where I worked with Johnson & Johnson. They not only had a good product, got it FDA approved, and they did a lot of research, but they also wanted to make sure they had eyeballs and they had spectacles on their name on a regular basis. So when we weren't there, they wanted us to be there. And the way to do that was to have our product, branded product with their name and logo on it, visible for people to see even when we weren't there. So I decided one day to ask the question with my Johnson & Johnson cohorts in corporate America, hey, how much money do we spend on this? And they gave me a number of about $5 million we spend, and that was only one company of 28 that Johnson & Johnson owned. Yeah. And I said, well, if we're spending $5 million and the other 28 companies are spending $5 million, this is an opportunity for me looking at the business where I wanted to go and be an entrepreneur. I think I'll get into the branding business, and I think that if I focus on the things that I love, sports, entertainment, and corporate companies, then I might have a business where I could do pretty well. And I remember one thing that I learned 32 years ago before I started entrepreneurship. A gentleman said, if you always go to a business that's underdeveloped and underserved, and you serve that business and you develop that business, you'll always have business. So he said, go into underdeveloped, develop it. Go into underserved, serve it, and your business will always be there. And it's been 32 years, and I still follow that philosophy today. And so branding is a business that everybody does, corporate, sports, and entertainment. And if you're not branding, then your competitors are taking away some of the money that you could rightfully deserve.
But to those of us who don't really understand it, is branding just putting your name on something? It's got to be a little more than that. You see a lot of names on products, but branding itself is not just that, is it?
No, it isn't. Branding is about telling a message of who you want people to see you as. So when you brand yourself with the look, you brand yourself with a color, you brand yourself with a cadence, you brand yourself to let people know who Maynard Eaton is without Maynard Eaton being in the building. How does he talk? How does he walk? How does he spell things when he's spelling things? How does he capture the audience? So Maynard's got to do things in branding. That's not just throwing his name up on a wall, but Maynard's got to brand in their mind. This is how I walk. This is how I talk. This is how I live. This is how I congregate. And every time you step out of the house, you got to recognize you're more than a logo, but you're a brand. And your brand speaks highly of who you are to any and everybody who knows you or who doesn't know you. Your brand is when you first walk in that door, they look and they have an idea of what your brand stands for.
Is that brand new, or is it an age-old science that's taking on different wrinkles now, this branding? You mentioned the word cadence. Who would ever thought about that in a business sense?
You know what? I believe in Ecclesiastics. It says there's nothing new under the sun. And Maynard, there truly is nothing new under the sun. What we have seen today, we've seen it 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Speaking of the pandemic, everybody learned about masks. Well, we know 100 years ago, they were wearing masks when you look at the pictures. There's nothing new under the sun. So in 100 years, we might see, well, we might not be here, but some people are going to look back at 2021 and go, oh my God, they were wearing masks. And maybe we'll go 100 years without having to wear it to keep a virus away from us. But we'll kind of go back to the basics, which is, well, what did they do back in the day? So no, it's nothing brand new. It's going to take on different wrinkles. It's going to take on different words. It's going to take on different verbiage. It's going to take on different media to actually reach the consumer and the client. But it's the same thing, but it has to be relevant to today. So when I say branding was a long time ago, but it is still today. And we're already looking at the future of what branding is going to do. And that's where I'm excited about, is kind of learning a little bit like Wayne Gretzky. They asked him, how do you score so many pucks? He said, that's easy. I go to where the puck is going versus where the puck is. So if you think about that, people who are, jostling for that puck, they're fighting there in the middle of it. Wayne is already down the field saying, no, I go to where the puck is going, where the puck is. I think branding is the same way. If you're only thinking about today, you've lost. You got to think about what's going on the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And if you're not thinking like that, you're going to look like old business has been business, and people are going to look at you like you're dusty and stale.
Well, Reggie, is that why you market yourself as a digital and physical branding company?
Absolutely.
Digital is today, correct?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you picked that up, Maynard, because 15 years ago, would tell people, well, what is Swag 24/7? I brand you on a physical level. Well, on a physical level, that's what we did. I mean, we've only had the smartphones for probably 10, 11, 12 years. As a matter of fact, I think Apple does a good thing by letting us know that they released the Apple 12 and the next one's Apple 13. That's just letting us know it's been 12 or 13 years since they've had the iPhones. Now, prior to that, we had no cell phones that did this kind of stuff. So there wasn't a digital way of branding. So we did everything physical. We would go to conventions. We would go to trade shows. We would go and see people in different parks, and we would drape them with T-shirts and things that would say what we're standing for, what family reunion we're representing, what company who's sponsoring this race. You look at the back of a T-shirt, it's got all these sponsors. Well, that was branding back then. Nobody had a Snapchat. Nobody had an Instagram. Nobody had a Facebook to go look at. They either caught it on TV or they didn't catch it on TV. You fast forward 12, 13, 14, 15 years where we are now, and the last thing people want to touch, very few, is a newspaper that lands on your doorstep. That business is pretty much dried up, but there's still some people that like that newspaper. Now, you do know that when you pick up that newspaper in the morning, that news is old.
That's right.
Because if you pick it up on the internet and you pick it up on a digital format, it's actually every moment, every hour, every second. So that's the beauty of really looking at it today, and why I had to look at the transition and go, okay, great. I've got to be relevant today. So how am I relevant? I got to be a digital brander, and I also got to be a physical brander. And today, both work in concert with one another.
I got to ask you something, though, Reggie. You're talking about back in the day and physical branding. I noticed in your bio, a friend of mine,
yes,
Jack the Rapper, one of the greatest DJs out of Atlanta, and a legendary. And you work with him.
Absolutely. Jack had these conferences, and you probably knew about some of them. He would have conferences, particularly the first one that I went to was in Orlando, Florida. And I was there as a vendor setting up my show so that people could see a little bit about who I am. I recognized a long time ago with Johnson & Johnson, training from them back to the medical world, that we needed to go to big trade shows. And we go to big trade shows so that we can meet other physicians, other hospitals, other laboratories. Well, after I transitioned out of Johnson & Johnson into doing business for myself, I recognized I got to do trade shows, because I learned from two blue chip companies that I worked for. Right out of college, I worked with Allstate Insurance. Second job I worked with was Johnson & Johnson. So working with those type A company, those blue chip companies, I learned trade shows were relevant to meet the world all at one time. A trade show would net you 100,000 people, but you're probably only going to see about 10,000 of them, 10% of them that are interested in you. And in that interested, there's probably 10% you'll have real good conversations, 1,000. And in that 10%, the next 100 are probably going to be your clients. There's no way on earth I could have nabbed relevant clients, 100 of them, that are serious about buying business from me if I didn't go to that conference to see 100,000 people to drill down. So when I met Jack the Rapper, I was at an event and I was looking to entertain myself in the entertainment world as a brander. One thing led to another. I'm at his conference. His daughter comes over. She speaks to me. Her brother, the daughter's brother, Rip, comes over. He speaks to me. He tells me that he likes what I'm doing. They enjoy what I'm doing. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm here. Found out about it. And they said, could you do some consulting for us? And I was thinking, well, sure. Not only that, I've been doing a little bit of that in Dallas, but they said, no, we'll fly you here. We'll take care of you. Don't worry about that. So I'm now thinking to myself, I'm scratching my head going, now, why in the world would a Jack the Rapper want to talk to me about branding and digital stuff back in the day? And I recognized that they were looking for some new blood. They were looking for some new breed, and they needed all 10 fingers and 10 toes on the wheel to handle the jobs that they had. And they were wise and smart to go, let's take somebody into our company and let them do what they need to do to make us look good. So that's kind of what I learned to do a long time ago, is be on demand for people. And to be on demand for Jack the Rapper in that segment of where he needed it, it was absolutely perfect for me. And I think I did business with them for about a year and a half as a consultant, and they treated me like a king. And I loved every part of that business.
Is that how your business has flourished since then, on that formula? Is that the secret of who you are and your success?
I think the secret to my formula has always been listen and talk less. And when you listen and talk less, you're going to find yourself understanding that it's the 80-20 rule. You've heard it before. 80% of work is done by 20% of people. Well, 80% of business is done if you 20% learn to shut up. People are going to tell you what they want, and you got to be able to, earlier I said, develop what they want or service what they want. They're going to tell you what they want. Now, they may not need all 100 things in your bag, but they may need 2 things. You don't tell them about the 98. You talk to them about the 2. And the people that shoot themselves in the foot, they get a contract for the 2 and they want to tell them about the other 98. Right. I learned a long time ago that's stupid, because when I'm a consumer and I'm buying something, I want to buy that product. Don't bring me everything that goes with that product. I will come back and see you. But right now, I just want that product. And I learned that listening is more important than talking.
You've been in Atlanta every now and then with the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. Now, yes. that's a step up from trade shows, to say the least. What are you doing for major operations like that? I mean, they represent all the big business in Atlanta, and you're there swinging a bat, offering them, listening, doing your thing. How does it feel for you being in that ball game after having done some of your trade shows and things of that nature? And are trade shows still alive?
I'll answer the question. I'll answer the last question first. Yes, trade shows are alive, and they're about to come back. Now that the doors and the Band-Aids have been ripped off of COVID, we kind of got a stranglehold on COVID. We kind of know what to do with it. We kind of know how to, protect ourselves, get the vaccines. And if you've had the virus and you've got the antibodies, now we're kind of working through it. This herd immunity is kind of happening by happenstance, where now we can get back to beginning close proximity, where for a year and a half, it was no proximity to people. But to go back and answer the question, how in the world did all that get started? Well, the whole idea behind it, trade shows, is that you go to meet the people that are going to drill down and grow your business. And that's how I learned a long time ago to do business that way. I do trade shows in Dallas. I do trade shows in major cities like Atlanta. I do shows in Miami, LA. And the reason I do those trade shows, even in Las Vegas, you're going to get a conglomerate of people, and you're going to have to sift through about 10%, 10% till you get where you got to go. Well, I recognized and understood a long time ago here in Dallas, some of the trade shows I went to, I met some of the people that put me in a position to be where my office is right now. So I'm in one of the most, I'm going to say, alluring attractions in the country. And that's where I office. And it's kind of a dream come true that I left the building where they filmed the TV show Dallas. And I was in that building for 26 years. Wow. I now have relocated my office from where they filmed the TV show Dallas to now the Dallas Cowboys corporate headquarters.
Dallas Way, huh?
Yeah, I know. Look at a little kid from San Antonio with 2 nickels trying to put them together and make 10 cents. I don't know how I do it, but I thank God every day that I have an opportunity to live out a dream, and I have an opportunity to hear him speak to me, God speaking to me, to let me know what my next step is, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And so understanding all of those little nuances of trade shows, the people who I met, some of them were right here in Dallas. They had jobs in Dallas. I started doing work for them in Dallas. Some of them got recruited into other corporate companies that landed them in other major cities. So the reason I'm in Atlanta is because 2 of the people who are now the EPs, executive vice president, and they're the president who make all the decisions for the Commerce Club in Atlanta, they used to work in Dallas. They worked side by side with me. They watched me. They understood me. They knew the business. And we had a great relationship. And one thing that I learned from Bob Johnson, and he's a philanthropist, owned Black Enterprise, he puts his statement out there, and I may jack it up a little bit, but forgive me if I do it. It pretty much goes on the pretenses like this. Business is personal, so make friends before you have to. So if you think about that, if business is personal, make friends before you have to. Personal people enjoy folks they know, they like, they trust. When you're personal. So if I'm personal with you, I got to know you, Maynard. I got to like you, Maynard. I got to trust you, Maynard, if I'm personal with you. Right. Now, if I find out a year down the road, 2 years down the road, that you can help get something off the ground that you are an expert in? Well, because I know and I like and I trust you, I'm going to come to you first because I've been able to be friendly with you. And I now understand that if I'm friendly with you, business is personal. I'm making a personal decision to say, hey, Maynard, I know we're friends, but I need this done and I need it done the right way. And you're going to be like, Reggie, you don't even have to worry about it. You know, I put my name on it. Well, word is my bond. That's what I did with the people who are now in Atlanta with when they were here in Dallas. And so when they went there to make decisions and do what they did, they asked people, hey, who are we going to get to do some of our branding? And Atlanta has plenty of people that could do branding, many people. But they said, we're going to go with Reg in Dallas. And so each time I go to Atlanta and I'm walking into, I know I'm going to say enemy territory, because people do go along the backside and go, who is that? Why is he from Dallas? We do this. Well, you know what they tell that person? Well, send us your stuff. Let us look at it. But we know Reggie. We trust Reggie. We like Reggie. Business is personal. I think that's the secret to the success.
I've been told, I'm no big business, but I've been told by the SCLC chairman himself that relationships mean more than anything else. Relationships are the key to big business and also good results, right?
Absolutely. I believe that. And I love hearing people still talk about it in 2021. And I almost, Maynard, want to hear people that have that built into the fiber of their conversations, because that lets me know I don't even want to talk to you about business. I was in my office last night and I was over in the private club last night, and Emmett Smith was right there next to me, and we're talking and chopping it up a little bit. I know business. I know Emmett has businesses, but I don't want to talk to that business. He doesn't know me. He knows me when he sees me, but he doesn't really know me. If I do business with Emmett or he wants to do business with me, I want it to be so far down the line that he gets to what? Like, know, and trust me before I just business. Because I've been thankful to God that for 20 years plus over the last 32 years, I have found that business relationships matter. The last 20 years, I really saw that. I think my first 12 years, I was working through business, working through the nuances, you know, the ups, the downs, the failures, you know, supply chains, mistakes, you know, trying to keep income high, but keep expenses low. But I think about 20 years ago, a light bulb turned on and said, get friendly with people and they can help you with all that. And I still live by that. So I look at that when I'm speaking to people. I want to hear that they got that inside of their DNA.
Reggie, before we go, what are the lessons to be learned here for young entrepreneurs about digital branding, relationships? What do you tell young entrepreneurs about branding? You hear the name a lot, but how do you make it work for you?
You know what I got to tell them, and this is where I'm going to put a plug in for me, so forgive me for the plug. My whole job is to make people look good on the physical and the digital level. You can't learn this overnight. It's taking me 32 years to get where I'm at right now. Now, I could give you something in 32 seconds, but that ain't going to get you what I've done in 32 weeks. 32 weeks is not going to get you done in 32 months. And 32 months of me being around you is not going to tell you what I've done in 32 years. So what I try to tell people and what I try to explain to people, what could be the secret for your next avenue and your next success? Look at who is already doing what you want to do. And most of them inevitably will say, if you want what I have, you need to do what I do.
It's called mentoring, huh? Follow me.
Absolutely.
I'm going to end this on this note. You also are in the jewelry business.
Yes, sir.
And our mutual good friend, Bernie Hartman, just dazzled his wife with a ring from your collection. I just want to say, I'm next.
I got you on board. Bernie was one of the best people to work with, because Bernie and I probably started talking about this, I'm going to say 5-7 years ago.
Wow.
But that's the beauty of what we were just talking about earlier.
Right.
If Bernie knows me, likes me, trusts me, when the time is right to take a swing at that bat, he allowed me to keep my uniform on. He allowed me to take the bat. He allowed me to get to the plate, and he threw the pitch. And I tried my best, Maynard, to knock that thing out the park. And if Bernie says the same, I think I did all right. I think it's still in the ocean. Ain't nobody going to find it. But I think I put a 10-table, and that's what Bernie knows. I think I put a 10-table ring on his bride's hand, Pat. So if she's 10 tables away from anybody in a restaurant, they going to see that ring.
Oh, my God. Well, people are going to see you, too. His name is Reginald Hilliard, swag 24/7. Brother, I've learned from you today. I'm sure others will, too, once they hear this. Thank you for joining me on Talk to Me. See you next week, folks.